The sun rose red and low over the endless grasslands of eastern Africa, where the dry wind carried the smell of acacia and dust. The land was alive with sound, the distant calls of giant baboons, the hissing of insects, and the rhythmic steps of early humans moving through the morning mist. Among them walked Ari, a young female Australopithecus afarensis, her dark fur gleaming in the golden light. She was not alone. Around her were 5 others, her small family group. Doro, the older male with broad shoulders and scarred face, led them cautiously. Behind him followed Sura, Ari's sister, carrying an infant clinging to her back. 2 young males darted between the tall grass, curious and reckless. For the first time in the story of life, these beings were more than individuals. They were a family, bound not just by blood, but by cooperation, memory, and shared survival. The morning forage. The group moved toward a grove where figs and wild tubers grew. Ari climbed low branches, testing fruit with careful fingers. When she found one ripe, she called softly, not a word yet, but a series of clicks and hums that her family understood. Sura came, her infant squealing softly. They gathered together, sharing the fruit instead of fighting. This act, so small, was new to the world. Most creatures hoarded what they found. But Ari's family had learned that sharing food built trust, and trust meant survival. Nearby, the 2 young males played, tossing sticks and mimicking hunting moves they had seen Doro perform. Doro watched them with pride and a hint of worry. His deep-set eyes followed the horizon, alert for predators, lions, saber-toothed cats, or giant eagles that could strike without warning. The savannah was no place for carelessness. Danger in the wind. It came suddenly, the silence. The cicadas stopped, the birds went still. Doro froze. His nostrils flared as the faint smell of blood and musk reached him. "Herc!" He grunted, a deep sound of alarm. The family froze. From the tall grass emerged a shape, golden and low to the ground. A lion lord, one of the prehistoric ancestors of modern lions, larger and more muscular. Its eyes locked on the group, tail twitching slowly. Doro lifted a branch, thick and heavy, and barked a warning cry. Sura pulled the infant close. Ari grabbed a stone, her heart pounding. They knew what to do. They had seen this before. They clustered together, forming a circle, backs touching. The predators circled, searching for weakness. Doro shouted again, louder this time, and waved his branch. Ari joined in, her voice rising in a harsh shriek. Then, a miracle of instinct, one of the young males threw a rock. It struck the lion's shoulder. Startled, it flinched, growled, and backed away. The group screamed in unison, a wall of sound. The lion lord hesitated, then turned, melting back into the grass. Silence returned, broken only by their panting. Doro dropped his branch. He looked at his family, all alive. He grunted softly and touched Ari's shoulder. It was not affection as modern humans know it, but it was the beginning of it. Comfort. The shelter of stone. By midday, they reached the base of a small cliff where stones jutted like teeth. This was their shelter, a place Doro had chosen seasons ago. The overhang shielded them from rain and wind, and from this vantage point they could watch for danger. Ari knelt and began scraping bark from branches to make bedding. Sura nursed her infant while the young ones stacked stones, imitating their elders. It was here, under the rock's shadow, that the earliest forms of home were being born. As the sun dipped low, the air cooled, and Doro brought back the remains of a small carcass, likely stolen from a vulture's feast. The others gathered eagerly. With stones and bone shards, they tore at the meat. It was not yet butchery, but the idea of using tools had begun to flicker in their minds. Ari used a sharp flake to pry marrow from a bone. She shared it with Sura's infant, who smacked its lips with delight. The bonds that grew. As night fell, the savannah glowed with the eyes of predators. But in the cliff's hollow, Ari's family huddled close, bodies pressed together for warmth. The infant whimpered, and Sura whispered low sounds to soothe it. Ari felt something stir inside, a strained protectiveness. She reached out, touching the baby's hand. The child grasped her finger, and in that moment, something ancient and beautiful took root. Care beyond survival. The night deepened. filled with distant roars and a rustle of wind. Above, the stars shone over a world still raw and untamed. For the first time, life had found a rhythm not of instinct alone, but of connection. A death and a legacy. Seasons passed. The rains came and went. One morning, Doro did not rise. His breathing was slow, shallow. Age had caught up to him. The family gathered, confused. Ari touched his face, sensing the change. When his chest stilled, she released a low moan, a sound of grief, though she did not yet understand death. They stayed near the body for a long time. When the sun grew hot, they covered him with leaves and stones. It was not burial in the modern sense, but it showed something remarkable, recognition of loss. Without Doro, the group faltered at first. Predators tested them, and food grew scarce. But Ari stepped forward. Her instincts told her what to do, to lead, to guide, to protect. Under her, the family adapted. They learned new routes for foraging, new shelters to rest in, and how to use sharper stones to break open roots and bones. The family grew stronger. A new dawn. Years later, Ari herself became a mother. Her child, wide-eyed, curious, and bold, clung to her back as she led the group through the high grass. She taught it the calls for danger, the signals for food, the sounds of comfort. One evening, as they returned to the stone shelter, Ari stood watching the horizon. The sun burned orange behind the acacia trees, and her child pointed toward it with a tiny hand, making soft sounds. Ari smiled, not a human smile yet, but something close. She held the child and pressed her forehead against its hair. In that moment, the first human families truly began, not through fire or words or tools, but through love, a quiet, instinctive bond that reached beyond survival. Epilogue, the echo of family. The world of 4.9 million years ago was harsh, yet it was here that the most powerful force in human history was born. The ability to form families, to nurture, to protect, to grieve, and to teach became a foundation of everything that would come after. From those first fragile bonds under the African sun would rise villages, tribes, nations, and one day, civilizations. But it all began with Ari, her kin, and a single act of sharing, of comfort, of standing together against the wild. In the dawn of humanity, the family was born,